Hey, what's up guys? My name's Samuel Leeds. I am a property investor, and every single week I like to take an opportunity to take a few moments to basically answer your questions. If you're in property, I want to help you go further. If you're not in property but you want to get started, I want to give you that information, that content, that inspiration to get started. So I'm going to take some questions from last week, and if you've got questions, comment them below. Drop a load of comments below. I'll read them and I'll pull out some questions to answer for next week. So while I'm going through these, you can be thinking of your questions and then commenting below. What we got? Martin Jandora. By the way, I've been investing in property for 11 years and I'm pretty successful as well. So just in case you're wondering who the heck I am. All right, he says, Samuel, next time could you please talk about how to deal with builders? How to make sure they do a good job and don't run away with your money. The whole process of refurb description would be much appreciated. Okay, depending on the size of the refurb, depends on how you want to play this. If it's a big refurb, which it's probably not if you're just starting out in property, but if it's a big refurb, you need a project manager, okay? That's someone that you pay to just be on the ground and making sure everything's all good. I'd suggest using building companies whereby rather than you finding, let's say you're doing a refurb on a house and you need the electrics doing, you need the plumbing doing, you need some carpets, you need this, you need that. Rather than you finding the electrician, finding the plumber, finding the decorator, finding the plasterer, finding the floorer, and then suddenly what happens is you're the middleman in between all these builders and all these tradespeople, and then they'll get on each other's way and they'll tread on each other's toes, and it's just an absolute nightmare. You're better off to employ a building company who have everything in-house. So they will just basically manage the whole thing for you, and you'll usually pay a little bit more, but it's so worth it. There are good builders out there. How do you find them? Probably referrals. Also see their work, and if they've been referred by somebody who you trust, if you've seen their work and if you've got a good gut feeling about them, then that's probably good signs. Make sure that you have a breakdown of the works, absolutely everything. Make sure it's all itemized so you know and how much everything costs. And there's a split up of maybe labor, their time, their day rate, and also costs. You might want to see that as well. And also time scales. There's only the two things builders usually do wrong is they go over time and they go over budget. So you just want to have it all written down. Maybe make sure if they go over budget, have like a penalty in place. So look, if it doesn't get done by this date, they're then having to pay for that. Also, don't pay up front. You can pay up front, but don't pay the whole thing up front. If the building project's going to be 12 grand, then maybe consider paying 4 grand, 4 grand, 4 grand, and then saying, here's the first 4 grand, and then when you achieve this, when you do, this level of works, then I'll pay you again, and you pay in installments. Never pay the whole thing up front, because even if they are good and they are trustworthy, what you'll find is human nature kicks in and they're not so motivated because you paid them up front for the whole job, and it's sometimes demotivating for them right at the very end for the snagging and stuff. Project management's always really good as well. Even if you don't need to employ a full-time project manager, but you could just literally have yourself or have someone who checks up on them once a week. So that you need to be on top of them, 100%. If you're not there, if no one's there, no one's present, then you're asking for troubles. So there we go, builders. Hope that helped. Stunt Frenchie. I'm seeing more and more homes for sale, then changing to let after some time on the market. So potential lease option agreements, as you've mentioned previously. Yes. How do I go about negotiations with home sellers having no experience, no money to move forward? Is it about making or closing a deal, then looking for people like yourself or investors? Yeah, potentially. If you're wanting to be a deal packager, you want to find deals and sell them on, then you might ask the question, what comes first, the deals or the investors? I'd probably just go aggressively after both. It's probably better to find the investors first and then ask the investors what they're looking for. And when they tell you what they're looking for, I would say, great. So if I can find you something that's boom, 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 something just like this, would you pay me £3,000? And if they say yes, then what I would say is, well, look, why don't you give me £1,000 deposit and then give me 3 months? And then in 3 months, if I haven't found anything, I'll give you your £1,000 back. If I have found something and you like it, you can give me the additional £2,000. That's good business, because that way you're getting money up front. You're then going out looking for deals, specifically knowing what you've got in mind. And there's so many time wasters out there that will say, yeah, I'll give you $3,000, and then you find it, and then they'll be like, actually, just get the money up front off them. Look for the deals as well. If you're finding good deals, if the deals are good enough, the investors will find you. But it is a little bit of a chicken and egg, so hope that helps. Oh, and lease option agreements. If you're trying to negotiate with sellers on lease option agreements, it's really simple. Lease option agreement is just, you'll buy it now, but you'll pay for it later. And then in the meantime, you'll wait for the appreciation to go up and you'll get benefit from the rent. That's what it is. Buy now, pay later. You just want to speak to sellers and just say to them, look, your house is on the market for $100,000. I can either give you $80,000, which is what I want to give you, but I'll pay you all up front right now. So I can pay you what I want to pay you, but I'll pay it on your terms. Or I can pay you what you want, which is $100,000, but I'll pay it on my terms, which is in 5 years' time on a lease option. Which one's best? You know what I mean? Geez, just speak to people, learn the skills and speak to people. It's stuff I do all day, every day. Baran Taz. If I was a teenager, if a teenager was to attend the Property Investors Crash Course, would the teenager have to be under the constant supervision of an adult? No, they would not. R. Mendello. Property tribes keep posting that buy-to-let is dead or on its way to be dead. It'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on this subject. Property tribes saying it's dead. No, it's not dead. Listen, when people are saying that buy-to-let is dead, and the media is worried and people are scared, that is the best time. That's when you should be greedy. Why? Because when people are scared and when the media is talking about how buy-to-let's dead or whoever, then that means that sellers are worried, which means that you can get a good discount, which means that you are in a better position to negotiate. When property prices are going up, whilst it's good because you can buy and you know it's going up, whilst that's good, actually, you're in a much better position to negotiate when property prices are a bit unsure. And as long as you're planning on holding them long term, you buy low and then you rent high and then you wait for the capital appreciation to go up. So like when the taxi drivers are talking about how good Bitcoin is, that's when you got to get out. And it's the same with property. So, I mean, I don't know who's saying what exactly, but that's generally my consensus. Okay, Stephen Murray says, council tenant or working class tenant? Working tenant. My strategy is for working people and professional people generally. However, it's not to say council tenants never make good tenants. Some people, I've got some friends and some students where their whole strategy is around council tenants. I have a few council tenants, but it tends to be when they've moved in as a professional, then they've lost their job, and then I haven't got the heart to kick them out, and then they're on benefits. But yeah, I think the thing is, if you are going to have council tenants, just make sure that the council pay you direct rather than pay the tenant, and then you have to just hope that the tenant pay you. That's my experience. All right, Raw T Music. He says, themes are good. Would it be possible to book you, Samuel, to do 2 to 3 days of training with some Ghetto Youths? No, you don't need to book me to come and do some training to Ghetto Youths, because you can, my training to Ghetto Youths would be no different to my training to 50, 60-year-old professional people in suits, because property investing is property investing is property investing. The strategies are the same, and I just think, bring your Ghetto Youths to me, man. I've already paid for the venue. I mean, hey, listen, if you want to inquire for me to come and speak, you can just drop me an email to info@samuelleeds.com, but it's, I'm not cheap because I'm so busy. But man, come on down. And I'm putting on programs all the time. All right, last question. House flipping. Should you spend a lot on a flip or keep it minimal? Should you use neutral colors like new build or do different colors with featured walls, etc.? Okay, so 2 questions there. All right, firstly, in regards to colors and stuff, I wouldn't do neutral colors. Back in the day, everyone was doing magnolia and all that sort of stuff. But the thing is, everyone's doing it and it's boring. And I think the best hotels these days are doing a bit more poppy. It's a bit more poppy, you know, like white walls with a nice bright feature wall. I think that kind of stuff sells better in 2019. And if you're buying it to sell, sometimes people want to put their own stamp on it anyway. But if you're buying it to rent out or buying it to refinance, I think you've got to make it pop, you know. In regards to how much would you spend on a house flip, it depends. There's 3 figures. When you're buying a house to refinance or buying it to sell it, there's 3 figures that you got to know. Number 1 is, what are you going to go in at? Okay, so what's the seller going to accept? What's their bottom line? That's why I always ask the question when I'm buying a house. I'll say, what's the lowest that you could accept but still live with? So you've got to get that lowest price. That's the first figure. Second figure is, how much is the refurb going to cost? So you want it nice. Like, you can't cut corners really on a refurb, I don't think, because if you cut corners, it's just going to come back. So how much is it going to cost to get it good, to get it at a good standard, good quality? So say the purchase price is 100 grand, and then you're going to invest, say, 20 grand on the refurb. And then the third question is, what's the end value going to be? You know, how much value have you added to the price of the property, and how much money have you had to invest to do that? And then it's just simple maths. You know, if you're going to buy it for 100 grand and spend 20 grand on it, and then the end value is 125, you made 5 grand. It's not really worth it. So, but if you can buy it for 100 grand, spend 20, and then you can force the value up to 150 or 200, then it's really worth doing. And typically you want to add the value up enough to be able to then get a new mortgage of 75% and pull your money out, you know, or sell it and make a profit. But there you go, there's general thoughts. Anyway guys, that's all we've got time for today. I hope you found that really useful. Comment your questions below. I'll do my very best to answer them next week. If you'd like to come and do some training with me or my team, we run Property Investors Crash Course, which is a 2-day free training program, and that's going to be on the house. So you can just find the link in the description, get yourself booked on. Please do like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I really appreciate your support. The more you engage, the more videos I'll keep doing. See you next time.